So, hello, this is the Hacker Noon podcast. I am your host, Utsav Jaiswal. I am the head of business development at Hacker Noon and also their blockchain editor. Today, we have three guests with us who are from three different domains in the blockchain space. We have Tim Frost from Yield, which is like a DeFi protocol. We have Arun Philips, who is from Polygon, previously known as Matic. And we have Miles Anthony, who is the CEO at Decentral Games. Without further ado, I would let these guys go over it one by one and tell us what to do. Let's start with you first, Tim.
No, thanks for having us today. Very, very quick. I'm the CEO at Yield App. What we are doing is we have a very simple way for people to invest in DeFi. We are a licensed fintech, and it's simple. You can register with us in about 2 minutes, deposit your funds, invest in DeFi, and we take care of the rest. Make it very simple to earn yields powered through decentralized finance.
Definitely, and we would like to understand more of what DeFi is, what DeFi does, and what it could look like in the next few years. Let's move over to you, Arun.
Hey, thanks Utsav for having me. So my name is Arun Philips. I lead a lot of the community and marketing initiatives at Polygon. And we were previously known as Matic Network. What Polygon basically is, it's just a scaling solution for Ethereum. Our mission is to bring more users, bring more applications, build the whole ecosystem of Ethereum. So pleasure to be here.
Got it. Now that you say it, it sounds so simple. But when I go to your website, it's like Ethereum's Internet of Blockchain. I'm like, okay.
Let's hope this podcast makes it a little easier for some people. Yeah.
Definitely, I would be one of those guys. So thank you for being here. And then we have Miles Anthony, who is the CEO at Decentral Games. Miles.
Thanks for having me, Utsav. Essentially, Decentral Games is a virtual casino governed by the DG token that's based in the metaverse. And the way we've constructed it is basically all the profits from the games congregate in our DAO treasury. And then the DG token holders essentially govern the funds in that treasury and can allocate them to as they wish. One other thing to add is in our games, we basically give away tokens to incentivize participation to the players. As a result, all of our players, become hodlers. So we've been able to build quite a big community around that.
Got it. And I see this interesting thing. I think based on my own experiences, Miles, I think you are the only guy of our age who doesn't have a beard and belongs to crypto. So kudos for bucking the trend on that front. With that beside us, let's go into what is it that you guys do? The first question that I find to be very hard to explain is trying to explain to my mom what I do. How would you guys do it? Let's start with you, Arun, because you have an Indian mom too. So tell me how do you explain to your mom what you do?
It's an interesting question. I think my mom also wants to know more about what Polygon does. I've told her to buy the Matic token and stuff. So she's very happy on that side of things. She's like, yes, is it going up? Is it going down? But she hasn't asked me this question, what do you actually do? So I think, if I would have to tell this to my mom, I think I would start with explaining what Ethereum is first, because I think everyone at Polygon who's working here, you might call us ETH maxis possibly. So everything is driven by Ethereum. Our vision is driven by Ethereum. So I would start by explaining Ethereum to her first. I would start off with the explanation of how Ethereum is this global supercomputer. Imagine this a really high power supercomputer, but it's decentralized. It's spread out throughout the world. And then I would tell her, but hey, there is a problem with this computer. Hey, there's too many transactions happening. It's become really expensive to use this computer. And that is why this bunch of Indians and some now a super global team all around the world, hey, we want to make this computer a little easier to use, a little cheaper to use. And that's where the whole Polygon sort of vision has come in. We want to making Ethereum, using this supercomputer a little cheaper, a little faster, and a little more accessible. So people, it doesn't matter if you have big fat wallets and you have to pay $20, $30 for every transaction. We want everyone to get these benefits of Ethereum. So that's in a nutshell how I would tell this to my mom.
Gotcha. And for those of you like listening who probably don't understand Ethereum, instead of following Vitalik Buterin, follow his dad, Dmitry Buterin. He makes it so easy to understand so many things. I'm like, okay, no wonder he's the father of Vitalik. With that said, let's move over to Miles. Miles, how do you explain to your mom that you are building an entire new world, terraforming, NFTs and whatnot?
So essentially, we've built a casino inside a virtual world called Decentral, and it started off with just simple casino games. And so you're able to hop in this virtual environment and play games with other avatars. And in doing so, you can play with, cryptocurrency on Polygon. And, as you're playing, you get rewarded kind of by the amount of your wager back in DG tokens. And, by using those tokens and staking them, you're able to govern the future of the project essentially. So yeah, I would say just a metaverse like, 3D virtual casino governed by the community. Gotcha.
Your mom just heard casino and she was like, okay.
Yeah. It's a bit tough. There's definitely there's a disconnect, but they're happy,
That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Moving over to Tim. So how do you explain to your mom, Tim, what's DeFi?
Yeah, I've definitely had a little bit of practice with this about, explaining to my mom what we do. So we are essentially like a crypto bank or a crypto wealth management application. So you simply sign up like you would at a Coinbase account or any of your Binance accounts. Sign up, register, do a little light KYC, deposit your crypto, and soon your fiat with us, and hit the invest button. So it's as simple as that. Once you actually hit that investment, all the investment strategies go into our managed fund on our back end. So we are predominantly into different yield farming strategies that are pretty vanilla in the back end. We're actually quite heavy into Matic at this point, Polygon at this point as well. And we're branching out to many other kind of yield generating activities. So just making it very simple for everyone. That's kind of what our vision is.
Got it. So did your mom have any follow-up questions after that? You had such a nuanced explanation of what you do. I'm sure that there was some follow-up questions.
Of course, there always is. How are you generating yields and try to understand? And yes, it is. We are taking essentially capital, aggregating capital, and deploying this into kind of proven different yield farming strategies. So we're able to take it, whether that's Ether or stable coins or any other asset that we'll be managing in the future, and we take this and do deploy this, and we kind of monitor the networks 24/7, and we are able to shift capital to the best performing pools that have passed our kind of risk committees. So it is it's the bulk of the work is, of course, it is done by us and our management team on this side. So it's much like any type of traditional investment. If you're going to be investing into a fund, overall, you're kind of understanding which type of asset class you're investing in, if that's it's different stocks or equities, but the underlying management of those different positions are done by the professionals, and that's what our aim is to be to kind of bridge traditional kind of financial instruments and this everything that's happening in DeFi and just crypto overall.
Got it. As I said, as long as your parents are happy, that's all that matters. Switching gears here. So I guess all of us have been in the blockchain space or the Ethereum space for a long time. We have seen it evolve from what it was let's say 5 years ago to what it is right now. like 2015 when they did their like ICO, and then like they was started building stuff. It was under a different name, and now we have such a vibrant ecosystem and whatnot. So looking back from the prism of your own projects, and I want to like have this question answered by like Miles first, is like looking back, what do you think like you would have wanted to do differently at Decentral Games?
Looking back, I mean, we tracked Decentraland from the beginning of their ICO, and I actually didn't start the project until 2 years after their project started, and then we didn't release a token until 2020, like very end of 2020, and it was all kind of like a sequence of events based on what was going on in the market, what was working, different token models being experimented with, and some successful, some not, and so yeah, I mean, I think knowing what I know today, I obviously would have steered the ship differently in prior times. And one of the things was we were a bit too generous. I feel like early on with our liquidity mining programs. That's one specific thing that I probably would have toned back. I think we were just really inspired by the new token models, and after DeFi summer with Yearn and Sushi and kind of giving tokens away early to the community. But that being said, I think our timing was good. So I'm glad that we launched when we did. Looking back, obviously there's always things that you can change, exactly. But I gotta appreciate the decisions that you made to get you where you are. So overall, pretty happy with the timing and everything.
Got it. Let's go over to like you, Tim. What's your hindsight 2020 moment?
Well, definitely. So I guess about March last year was the time I kind of sat down with one of my colleagues and went through kind of just DeFi in general. I'd been like paying attention off and on, and then he sat me down and really ran me down everything that was really happening in DeFi, and that was. My background is high growth fintechs. I have several very, very successful fintech that I've helped launch and found, and that kind of moment started when we were actually just looking at Curve and just we sat down there for a couple hours, and he was explaining how it works and it was a full economy that had kind of merged. So. That was about last March. Then we kind of ran into that strong DeFi summer. It took me to about August, and about mid-August when I finally decided to start the Yield app. And if anything, I think I wish I would have kind of jumped the gun a little bit sooner, right? Because we did have fairly good timing. You can always be a little bit earlier. I think I saw what was about to happen a little bit earlier, but I mean, like anything, you're going to always make. I mean, listen, you're always going to make mistakes. Whether that's hiring the wrong people, or I've just made legacy tech kind of wrong choices. So, ours we've probably made a few wrong steps on the tech choices and where we're going. We're completely rebuilding our application right now to build a scale. We have 43,000 users today. We've made a decision a few months ago. We need to rebuild this and redesign where we're going to be able to scale, which what I like to see is millions of people in the next couple of years.
Definitely. And the way we see it is that the DeFi space is just like heating up. Like for example, a few like weeks ago or a few months ago, only a handful of people like knew about flash loans and how they could leverage it. But now, like due to these like infamous flash loan attacks or whatnot, at least the attention is there in the right direction. Like zero interest loans, like that is something that nobody knew that they could get from anybody except from their families. And with that, let's move to the next one. Arun, so what's your like hindsight 2020 moment?
So I think I would echo like what Tim said also. Like for us too, it was something similar along those lines. I think maybe we wish we would have, right now we're super aggressive on DeFi, on NFTs, but I think just when DeFi summer was getting started, we weren't that aggressively, pursuing DeFi and that aggressively pursuing some of the biggest dApps and stuff. Right now, we've learned from that. We are going super aggressive. But if I had to change one thing, it would be, like when Sushi launched, right? So aggressive. Like, I mean, we were in a different position then also. Now we're in a better position to go aggressive. But I think, in hindsight, it's easy to say this. But then, and then just a side note too, like I'm just super happy Miles had like a generous liquidity mining program, because I think I was in like sort of DG from quite early days. So it was really generous, like the rewards and stuff too. So I'm happy about it.
So it actually turned out to be a good thing for some people, I suppose. That's good.
And just to like add to your like point, Arun, DeFi summer started like what? Like when we were right in the middle of crypto winter. And those of us like went through it, like we were gonna be cautious, like cut it however way you want it, but like we would have been cautious. So but glad that you were like able to make those changes at the right time. Polygon is doing amazing at this like time. So definitely more power to you guys. Let's move to the next one is, when we talk about the industries in general, like when I say the industry, I mean the blockchain side of things and the application side of things that we do. For example, in the case of Tim, he like competes directly with the traditional like fintech side of things. If it comes to Miles, he competes directly with those gaming organizations that are like trying to leverage what he does. And when it comes to Arun, I believe that like you guys are doing it, like what you are doing is probably the first thing that I see, but like happy to know what is your take on the industry that you guys belong to. Where are your synergies? Where are your intersections, and more about that? Let's go with Tim first on that.
So just to understand your question correct, I mean, just where's kind of the synergies and where's this space going overall? Well, I mean, it's a whirlwind. I mean, crypto overall just moves like very fast in all directions that it's going to be moving. I mean, DeFi itself, we as a company, I mean, we're quite cautious and quite conservative. You kind of touched on a few things earlier. I mean, there's the vulnerabilities are still yet to fully be discovered in all the sophisticated ways that things can be exploited. So overall, I mean, we're all I guess learning on the fly, and I think even oftentimes we talk to different protocols that have kind of launched, and I think we're all kind of writing the future like one day at a time, and so it's very humbling, I would say. I think crypto and DeFi in general, I mean, it's the one thing you'll never have it figured out. There's a few people who have it probably mastered and are really leading the way, and the rest of us are just constantly trying to understand where it's going and what is actually happening. So it's you got to be quite cautious to build in this space, especially with our business model, because we can't invest into different anywhere where a flash zone could actually be attack vector or a vault, and many other great opportunities that you might see as maybe an individual investor, but as a company overall. But it is a kind of a very exciting space and very exciting times, and we are building an economy that is emerging right now, and we're I guess doing this kind of together, and it's kind of shaping it in front of our eyes.
Got it. So I have a follow-up question over here for you, Tim. So
sure,
what are like some of the nuances of like liquidity mining that the average Joe doesn't get, apart from impermanent loss, to be very honest? Like impermanent loss, I guess like it's something that we have agreed happens. Nobody understands it. But what apart from that is something like that, as somebody who has like mining pools, has a DeFi project?
Yeah, I would say just the risk involved. Everyone loves to see all these high yielding opportunities, and obviously people want to be in these opportunities quite early. So just the sheer volume of risk involved in just DeFi overall. And so say it's there's, I mean, it's the internet, right? It's fully free and decentralized. And so I would say that's probably the biggest thing that the average people don't really involved is you do put your capital at risk every time that you're essentially entering into a DeFi position. And so, high APYs that you might be chasing, I'd say just be careful. And the TVL, or total value lock, does not necessarily equal safe. And if it doesn't have a lot of TVL, if you don't really understand, I think you need to be very cautious.
Got it. So I guess what I'm looking for is an example of these like risks involved. Because let's assume that I have a USDC USDT pair, like let's call them stable coins. What are my risks then?
Well, I would say from the flash loans in particular, there are certain protocols and certain DeFi investments that are vulnerable to flash loan attacks. And so there's many high yielding, opportunities out there, but there's, we are seeing, I guess, on a weekly basis, and we've seen this for months, right? Very sophisticated attacks that, if you can, if something can be flash loaned, I think, there's very intelligent people out there that are scheming of ways to take advantage of opportunities. So.
Gotcha. With that, I'd like to move to Arun. Arun, what's your take on the industry?
Yeah, definitely. So I think just personally for me too, there's the whole crypto, the blockchain industry. It's just this bunch of misfits, where only each of us understand each other. Like no one else outside of this understands what we are, what visions we have. And I feel even some of us have most of the people I talk to have this idealistic vision that, we know things are going wrong. We know we're entering this sort of information age from the sort of industrial age we were in, right? And things are borderless. People don't believe how crypto companies work. Like things are borderless. I know Miles has a great example of, how you have in-game jobs. So I think you can add a little more on that. But I think just for me, it's this community of people that is doing this sort of crazy thing. And then maybe 99% of the time it's going to fail. Like we might not defeat the system or the problems or whatever with fiat and all of that. But I love just being able to work with this bunch of people. I was talking to the sushi guys also recently. And there's something very common that we want to bring things like DeFi. We want to bring this to more people. We have something called DeFi for all also at Polygon, where we're trying to bring this to more and more people, introduce them to this whole world of decentralized finance. And it is pretty shocking. Like now when sort of the traditional media and stuff are discovering these sort of things. So I think it was JD or Sandeep who was on a recent interview on the CNBC or Times in one of the Indian sort of top media. And he was telling them about Aave over there. they were struggling to wrap their minds around. They were like, what? I can get a loan but not pay interest? Like, how does this work? And then JD is trying to calmly explain, it's sort of like a gold loan, like you deposit loan, you can use that as collateral and borrow. But I think it's exciting. It's really exciting that people are sort of, waking up to this, and they're seeing that there are problems maybe with existing systems. And maybe how traditional shopkeepers and all of this, they're paying massive amounts on interest to just run their stores and their shops. But somehow if this sort of this bridge is sort of fixed, I think that would be really exciting. And I think that's my whole sort of feeling about the industry too. We're a bunch of misfits, trying to make crazy change in the whole world. There's a high chance it might fail, but then it's super fun to do this with all of you guys. Yeah.
Definitely. I have a follow-up question here. I guess it pertains to the Indian side of things. Okay. So we were there in 2018. We saw how many people invested, and the banks had to step in because people were breaking their fixed deposits or whatnot to buy Bitcoin that they could get at Zeppay, which was Indian back then. Now, my wife just reached out to me a week ago, and she was like, hey, so I was like, because she follows Radhika Apte, who is an Indian actress, and like all of these Indian actors and actresses, I guess they have been like possibly being paid by these cryptocurrency exchanges in India. We like know the names. I don't want to get into that, like just because I don't want to give them a free like shout out. So they have hired these actors who are like doing their Instagram stories or whatnot, and they say, "Hey, so I heard about Bitcoin, and this is how you buy that. You go to that XYZ cryptocurrency exchange, and you could buy that." They never talk about the risks. Like if you look at what Tim just said, like there are so many risks involved with DeFi. And when it like comes to just investing in cryptocurrency, like no one knows because people are buying Dogecoin, people are buying Shiba, Akita, or whatnot. They just don't get the risks. But when they see that actors saying like buy that, how is that different from a chit fund scam that happens in places that we know of? And like, what's your take on that? Is that ethical?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Like even I've been seeing some of these pop up on my feeds too. So yeah, even I was a bit turned off, like just by how blatant the advertising was, where there was no, statements or disclaimers and stuff. But I think that is sort of a larger problem within India too. Like all of this is happening because everything is in such a gray area. Like the government hasn't come out with proper regulations regarding advertisement of cryptocurrencies, about securities and stuff. So I think it is part of a larger problem too. Like they wouldn't be doing this if they couldn't get away with it. But I think, yeah, if this is a little better enforced, if sort of these rules are better enforced, and just on a larger perspective, definitely we can't be having that. It just tarnishes the image of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, because they invest in maybe some of the other coins, but then the blame is going to end up for Bitcoin and for Ethereum.
Exactly.
Like, they're gonna blame crypto as a whole, right? So I think definitely we should be working on, I think there's a flip side of, there are some pretty cool influencers, YouTubers who are doing the right thing. Also, I think Tanmay, but he's like a pretty huge comedian. So he's sort of actually educating them about the risks, about the technology and all of that. But I think more people need to be learning from that and doing sort of that.
Yeah. Like if you go to like this guy who like did that first scam in India, like who went to jail. I forgot his name, Aman or Amit, like something like that. So he wrote this book and it was like published, and all of these actors were promoting that book, and then he went to jail or whatever. The point which I'm trying to make over here is that do we want the government to like step in? Like as a person of crypto, I don't think that we want the government stepping into our like side of things. But now when these actors and these cryptocurrency like startups or projects, when they make it so obvious that they are going to harm the general people, it makes it very hard for the government to not step in.
Correct. I think like I'm still sort of a little more hopeful, like at least from recent things that I'm seeing, I'm more hopeful on our governments. And so for instance, like the Maharashtra government, they're basically using Polygon as a backend to store COVID test results and stuff. So I'm seeing like, little hopeful sort of stories like this. So I feel regulation as a whole will be good for the space too, like how we have it in US, how we have it in Singapore. I mean, people won't be happy with the taxes and stuff they have to pay, but I think overall it'll be bullish news. Yeah.
Got it. So speaking of the USA, what do you have to say about that, Miles? Like, what's your take on the industry, regulation, some of the blatant advertisements that you see or whatnot? Like, does that help your case, or does it like also turn you off like it does for Arun?
I would say, like, for the most part, they just try to make examples out of folks like that are not doing something that's helpful for the community of crypto at large. So so far I think it's just kind of expected from the US, and they go after the big guys and try to make an example out of them. But I feel like the positives obviously outweigh the negatives in crypto innovation, and something like Polygon's DeFi for all campaigns, being able to allow just regular people to hop into DeFi, earn yields, anywhere from, 20-40% even on some stable coins. It's pretty unprecedented, and allowing folks to do that from their own wallets is huge. And I think that definitely outweighs like some of these scams that are going on where tokens are being dumped on the general public. So I would say I think from the US perspective, I think it's expected that there's going to be some regulatory backlash, but I think the innovation really outweighs everything.
Got it. And speaking of like innovations, like where do you see the like metaverse like world going in the next 5 years or so? Like we have like come a long way when we were like playing all of those like MMORPG games to like where we have entire like worlds. Like I remember this game called Second Life, like when I was back in school, and I remember that like I was too old when this game, like what's it called? Minecraft. Like I was like too old for like Minecraft, so I never like got into it, but I see it has its huge like subculture side of things. So like where do you see like that fitting into your own like narrative for metaverses, NFTs and whatnot?
Yeah, so crypto is actually a huge essential piece of the metaverse. NFTs essentially, and of course crypto, fungible crypto. Mainly just because all of these prior like more centralized metaverses basically were the custodian of all your items, your digital assets, and your digital currency within the world. And so as a result, some folks did actually spend a lot of money on accumulating digital assets, but at the end of the day, you're kind of at the mercy of whoever the gatekeeper is that runs the platform that you're building stuff or socializing with other folks in. And I think because of that, you didn't really have any property rights essentially. And so I think once some of these projects like Decentraland popped up, it allows the users of the platform to actually be the custodian of their non-fungible tokens and their crypto. So I think that was a huge step into kind of like building this in a bigger picture that we kind of refer to as the open metaverse, and it's just getting started. I think it was definitely accelerated by COVID, as more folks were spending time indoors, and wanting kind of like to essentially hang out in a kind of a virtual social environment. And by metaverse, it's essentially just a 3D like social virtual environment where you can play games, attend conferences, stuff like that, where it's permissionless, so anyone can hop in, no matter where you are. You just have to have a wallet, and you can just hop in. So I think the innovation in the metaverse space is really just getting started. For us, our business model is pretty straightforward. From the game side of things, obviously casino games are very popular and they are pretty widely known like how to play. So for us, it was pretty easy to become, one of the most popular, applications building in the metaverse. And so, as a result, because the games were, making money and, profitable, we were able to employ people. So it was worth it for us to actually, hire a team of 20 people to basically take shifts and with their avatars and spend time inside the metaverse, inside of our virtual casino to help players onboard and just to, fill it up, at the early days. So that, anyone that hops in, they can have help with depositing crypto. They have someone to play with, ask questions to directly rather than just kind of going through a FAQ or, trying to do research on their own. So I think it's a huge, step in the right direction. I think there will be a lot of business models kind of built around this premise, where actually having people staffed in the metaverse is going to be, worth it for them, and provide value for their product. But yeah, like I said, I think we're just, we're very early with the metaverse, and for the next 2 years, I mean, there's definitely going to be a huge move towards VR. For sure. I think, that's like a huge request, because right now it's kind of limited to like just viewing it on a 2D screen and it's not very immersive. It's social, but it's not like you're not like in a virtual environment, fully immersed in it. And so I think that'll be a huge step. But obviously it takes time, and the technology needs to catch up to what people are requesting. And obviously as well, Polygon was a huge piece of enabling this, is the possibility of actually people building an economy inside this virtual world, because traditionally it was on Ethereum, and Decentraland had to move over to Polygon because it just wasn't reasonable to ask folks to spend like $20 to send a single item or make a single trade, especially when those items are close to that amount as well. So they just released the Polygon marketplace for their NFTs, and I think it's going to enable a lot of people to get involved, because they're not deterred by the huge gas fee for as a barrier to entry. So I'm really excited for that integration. I've been pushing them for a long time for that, because we've been working with Polygon since the beginning of DG pretty much. We knew that we had to build on Polygon, because you need to have speed and you need to have low cost, because we pay gas on behalf of our users.
Got it. So now I'd like to switch some gears and to calm the mood of this room altogether. I have this fun question. Okay, so let's say that there is a genie who pops up and, hey, so I give you two options. You can just pick one of them. It would happen instantly. You could either be on the BSC or you could be on the Ethereum blockchain. BSC lower fees, Ethereum higher fees. It goes for all of you. Where would you rather be? Let's start with Tim. Would you be on BSC and the lower gas fees, or would you be on Ethereum and the higher gas fees?
Well, I guess it depends on exactly what you're doing. I mean, for us, I mean, we're predominantly, we are natively on Ethereum blockchain, but most of our activity now is happening off of Ethereum blockchain, just because there's I guess that's where the action is, and the speed, the sheer fees, and you just have to be able to kind of bridge across. So we are on BSC, we are on Polygon. And we'll be on more and more chains, and that we can kind of bridge across. That's where the action is today.
Right. So what do you say to the genie? You have only two options. Which one would you pick?
Well, do we have to? I mean, I don't think we have to pick today. I mean, the reality, right? I mean, because there are bridges, and and that's I think interoperability that we've been kind of wanting to have for years. And I think that the first phases that are kind of here today. And so where if I have to bet long term, I mean, I would bet on Ethereum. I still think Ethereum is where the winner is going to be long term. But in the short term, I mean, we are agnostic. So I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of talk about which chain or protocol we're going to be kind of betting on today.
No, definitely. And for the benefit of the viewers, I definitely glossed over the nuances that Ethereum offers. So I just mentioned the gas fees. There are so many things that go into choosing a blockchain or whatnot, which leads as a very nice segue to what Arun does at Polygon, which is about the Internet of Blockchain. So given the choice, what would you choose, Arun? Or would you say, hey, why not mine?
I think Tim put it very well. Even we are sort of doing the Ethereum's internet blockchains and multi-chain Ethereum. So I think it's just super impressive how interoperable things are now. You could be on BSC and come to Polygon, and move from Polygon to Ethereum, and then or do it the whole other way around, or you could go to Phantom and then go to Ethereum. So it's really hard to choice. But then since I told you before that we're all ETH maxis at Polygon, so we'd end up choosing Ethereum.
No, definitely. I very recently had the opportunity to check out the BSC scan website side of things, and I was okay, I have seen this website before. It just had a different look and feel to it, which I guess is the general consensus, at least on our side of the world, when it comes to checking out BSC. I might be wrong, horribly wrong, because the general consensus seems to be that it looks like a copy paste of the Ethereum blockchain with less developers, less support or whatnot. What's your take on that, Miles?
So we chose to build on ETH from the beginning, just because we were really following the ETH community more closely than BSC, and we started BG back in early 2019. So I'm not even sure if BSC was in existence there. They had Binance Chain, but not BSC, I believe, at that point in time. So it wasn't really an option. But today, obviously Ethereum is just way too expensive, especially for a lot of gaming projects. Especially if you're having, your game transactions be on chain, which we are. It doesn't make any sense to build on Ethereum. But that being said, our token is ERC20, and I feel like our community is definitely, I would say, more Ethereum based, just because we've been building. Our token is ETH based, and our games are on Polygon, which is a bunch of ETH maxis, as Arun said. So yeah, I mean, I'd say our product is kind of geared more towards that. But I mean, like Tim was saying, because of all these bridges that popped up, you could just replicate any product that you have on ETH or Polygon and build on BSC as well, to appeal to a different pool of users. So luckily, I mean, today I think you actually can do all of them for different, as we've seen with Sushi and Curve and whatnot. So yeah, that kind of
got it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to move back to Arun for a bit. I guess I left a question hanging over there. Arun, so I guess you are the best person to answer this among us over here. Is there a world where the transaction side of things takes place on BSC and the architecture side of things happens on the Ethereum blockchain? From what I understand, you either have to move lock, stock, and barrel, which means recreate your entire project on either BSC or Ethereum, or is there a world where we can have hybrids of all of these coming together into one project?
So I'm not really sure about the BSC sort of architecture side of things, but I can speak for how Polygon works. But I think that is feasible. So you can have sort of state channels that talk to L1 and L2, that let L1 and L2 basically talk. So what you could do is take back if you wanted to pay interest, for instance, to users on L1, but you wanted the entire product to run on a Polygon solution, right? That is technically possible. You can let these two talk to each other. Yeah, so I think that is feasible technically. And then I think even more for us, it is sort of just seeing that all of these things are possible, right? So even if you deploy on Polygon, you want to be able to access the community of Ethereum, access the community that Ethereum and the power that Ethereum brings, right? So this is technically possible for Polygon. I'm not sure about the BSC sort of architecture side.
Gotcha. So Polygon does that. Glad to hear that. And now we are moving to the close of this conversation. Let's go over what are your learnings from running an organization of this level? Because a lot of HackerNoon readers are looking to build their own things. They are building their own things. And so what would your message be to the people in the HackerNoon community trying to build their own things based off of what you have learned doing that? Let's start with you, Arun.
Great. So I think, looking at what Polygon is, it's basically an infrastructure layer. So if there's anyone in the community that's building infrastructure, then I think the biggest, the only focus should be keeping your projects, the dApps that are coming on, keep them happy, because all of our success at Polygon has been amazing projects like DG, like Avegochi coming and building. They've brought on their communities with them. So I think Polygon alone, if we didn't have any of these guys, we would be nothing, right? So our entire community, everything that all of the success that has come as an infrastructure product, it is because of the people using that infrastructure. So I think whoever's building any infrastructure platform, keep your the main people using that infrastructure in mind. Yeah.
Got it. I guess you spoke directly to the HackerNoon community. You started at infrastructure, you had them there. Let's go to Tim now.
Yeah, well, lots of pain points. I mean, I've built many fintech companies, and especially in the crypto space, and it is the difference between building in crypto and any traditional world is crypto is 24/7. There's no downtime. So you have 24/7 markets. I mean, people expect things to be working 24/7. So, I think you have to have you have to be prepared for like no downtime, no free time when you're in that kind of build phase. And I think the other big lesson I would always tell people is you're building for tomorrow, not for today. So there's always, you can take a snapshot of exactly what's where you're at, but you have to be forecasting 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the line of where things are going, because if you're building for today, you'll be left behind very quick.
Got it. Thank you very much, Tim. And now let's move over to Miles. So Miles, like a small disclaimer for you. Huge section of HackerNoon readers are cryptocurrency enthusiasts, but now we just started a section for gamers. So now we also have a huge section of like gamers like reading HackerNoon. So what is your giveaway for these guys as to like what would you try to tell the HackerNoon community given your experience?
Sure, I would just say, given the history of what's happened over the last several years in crypto, everyone who's just kind of participating and attending events, especially in metaverse or gaming projects, or just becoming an LP or running a node, just participating in the community, you're eventually going to be really handsomely rewarded. I wasn't really even expecting to be to achieve the growth of our Matic node when we set it up. We were discussing this earlier. I eventually moved it into the DAO, but by just participating and trying to help the network, it's pretty crazy what could actually happen and come of it. And today we run the 5th biggest Matic or Polygon node by total amount staked, and it was just started out as kind of like a tool for us to use to view blockchain data. And I think a similar kind of dynamic is kind of starting to form in some of these blockchain gaming projects around this play to earn narrative. And so I think, just becoming active in various communities on Discord and participating in whatever events they have or competitions that they have, and, huddling the assets that you accumulate from those events and promotions. I think, long-term, I think it'll definitely, you'll be rewarded for being early, as you are in any, successful crypto project. So that would be my advice. I suppose as just kind of a participant, but as a builder, I think Arun hit it like right on the nose. I think it's really, you have to really identify who your target audience is and really, build the product that will make them, become a lifelong, user. And, they did that extremely well with Polygon. They really focused from the beginning on, developer experience, Ethereum developer experience in particular. As all these kind of ETH killer chains are trying to attract developers that were non-crypto, they identified a problem with ETH and built a product that made it super easy to just port over your smart contracts to this faster, cheaper chain. And it was just a no-brainer for us from the beginning, and we're happy that we made that decision, and we're happy we ran the node as well. So yeah, it's great.
Got it. Yeah. So for every HackerNoon reader, the message has been unanimous, and it is very similar to what your teachers used to tell you back in the day: do your homework. And with that, we'd like to bring this podcast recording to a close. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Arun. And thank you, Miles, for being on the HackerNoon podcast.